You can't find a city in America where the police, CIA, FBI, Homeland Security don't sell drugs. They've all been busted for drugs. Happens every year, every month, in every state. Before we start going over to Mexico talking about the cartels, we need to talk about the American cartels. And that's the American Authorities Cartel.
Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country.
We had to figure out how do we convert that to a war footing. So what we want to do is be careful that we don't have the military, for example, chasing drug dealers on street corners.
Has he been outside?
In the United States and our inner cities.
Get your hands on my mom. No.
What we need to do is make sure the military is targeting our foreign enemies. And that might be drug cartels that are synergistic with the government of Venezuela. That might be drug cartels in Mexico that government officials there are letting operate freely.
That might be Homeland Security. As you can see here from February 11, 2025, the CBP officer accused of human smuggling and drug trafficking. And this is Christy Nome.
Shoot one puppy after another as her Botox wears off.
Woo! Your Botox, Miss Nome? Oh, yeah, fix me up. Another day doing what's tough.
Former CBP officer sentenced for smuggling cocaine from the U.S. Border Patrol. 21 kilos of cocaine, kilo of fentanyl, and a kilo of heroin, and $311,000. Yes, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers. They are selling drugs. How many more are there, I wonder? U.S. Embassy employee extradited to face charges. The National Guard and CIA operatives. U.S. Navy SEAL and CIA agent was accused of smuggling marijuana across the state lines using a plane. Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Julie O'Neill. A 911 dispatcher faced a judge this morning for drug charges. Now Cincinnati police are commenting on her behavior. Not on your sides. Jay Warren is live at a news conference right now with the latest.
I just want to interject here and say that Ohio has completely mastered the game. They have every entity, and I believe that they are working together. So to have a cartel, one of the main things that you would need is a dispatcher making sure that the path is clear.
Got out of that news conference here at the Butler County Sheriff's Office. 600 pounds of marijuana were brought into the U.S., police believe, from Mexico, and that was on display today. And they believe that certainly that wasn't the first such shipment. Let's take a look at some of that video here on display. This is 400 of the 600 pounds that were seized on Monday. The first 200 pounds, though, police say taken down to a house in Silverton on Sunday night.
Now, this is the dispatcher's house where they found the 600 pounds. She was working for the Cincinnati Police Department as a 911 dispatcher.
That one where the Cincinnati police dispatcher was living. She is now being investigated as to whatever her role could be in this operation. The pot was carefully hidden in the walls.
Ohio State Highway.
Now, the second entity that you would need for a distribution service is an escort. An escort that has muscle, meaning men and firepower, to protect the shipment.
The patrolman, highway trooper rather, will remain in federal custody until his trial on charges of drug trafficking and witness tampering.
Jason Delcole appeared for a detention hearing in federal court today where some new details about the case emerged.
NBC4's Ted Hart was in the courtroom and has the latest. Ted?
Yeah, federal prosecutors said today that during the execution of search warrants this week in connection with this case, they recovered 66 guns, many of them from former Trooper Delcole's home, including a machine gun and a suppressor. Now, they say they may all be legal, but it does add another level of concern for federal authorities.
This was Trooper Jason Delcole in 2013.
There was a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from his breath.
Testifying at a trial in Delaware County. It's Delcal now who will have to stand trial after a lengthy investigation led to federal charges that Delcal and 5 co-defendants were distributing illegal drugs.
Here's a look at those 2 suspects right now.
Now, the final stage of the drug distribution would be people to put it out on the streets and also recruit people to sell it and also bust them and also steal it from the evidence room and put it back on the streets.
Now, the 2 officers, Marco Marino and John Koczkowski, they were arrested by FBI agents on Tuesday. According to court documents, Marino tried to recruit a confidential informant to traffic drugs with him, offering legal protection in exchange for cash. The criminal complaint details Marino's plans to allegedly gain citizenship and purchase properties in Mexico so he could launder the drug money. Koczkowski is accused of helping Marino transport drugs, and court documents say Koczkowski provided 7.5 kilos of fentanyl to Marino to distribute. If convicted, the federal drug charges carry a sentence of 10 years to life. The federal bribery charges are punishable by up to 10 years.
Guilty, Marco Marino and John Koczkowski. Accused, Joel Mefford and John Castillo.
This was known as the Columbus Cop Cartel. There are 4 officers here, and we see all their faces, but there is another they have yet to reveal who it was. And as far as we know, he was not put in prison.
All 4 former Columbus police officers helped make up the now dismantled drug cartel unit. Federal agents say they took bribes, stole kilos of drugs, and trafficked those drugs back on the streets of Columbus. However, indictments for Mefford and Castillo continuously list another Columbus police officer with them who also committed these crimes, but no other officer has been indicted with them for those crimes. I requested a list of all officers who worked in the drug cartel unit from Columbus Police and pulled their personnel files. In the file for a 5th drug cartel unit officer, a letter of resignation sent to Police Chief Elaine Bryant in October of last year. Supervising officers from his sergeant to assistant chief recommended he retire in bad standing as he is currently subject to a criminal investigation conducted by the FBI.
Now, it was interesting that right around the time we found out this information, we was trying to find out who is this officer that is still on the loose. Was he an FBI agent? Was he a CIA? Was he just a regular cop? What was he? And so as everyone began to, go to trial for their cases, this happened.
New reaction from Columbus leaders about the ransomware attack on the city.
Well, today we're hearing from the mayor and the city attorney's office. City Attorney Zach Klein says he is aware of our reporting that people, including crime victims, had their information compromised. He says he's taking this very seriously. The mayor says his comments yesterday about the data lacking value before we uncovered the opposite were made in good faith and based on, quote, rigorous investigation and reliable sources.
Now, every cop that was a confidential informant, every person that's ever snitched in Ohio that went through the system and they had their names was now put on the black market. So everybody's information from every case that everybody has ever been involved in have been stolen. Can't make this up.
Some of the data our cybersecurity experts showed me comes right from the city attorney's office and includes extremely personal information about victims that is now on the dark web. That private data, now exposed, also belongs to police officers who have been subpoenaed in city attorneys' cases as well as defendants.
Tonight with a Franklin County deputy accused of raping a child. Charles Davis indicted on a total of 58 counts, including 32 counts of rape. U.S. Marshals Task Force arresting Davis today in Ross County. He's spent nearly a year now on administrative.
Well, Bob Stacia, I have my hand on the indictment for Charles Davis. It lays all of those charges, all of those counts, I should say, that you just mentioned. According to these records, we also know that the victim is under 13 years old.
58 cases is what they had. I believe this officer had the record for sexual assaults. And I mean, that just covers everything that the police have been doing. Everything from distribution of drugs, selling drugs, human trafficking to sexual assaults. I don't understand why we trying to be in another country talking about their cartels when our home, what I call TACT, that's the American Authorities Cartel, has been operating here for decades. As you can see, more Homeland Security people have been arrested. It's just an ongoing thing. They sell drugs, they move drugs, they distribute drugs. This is nothing new. It's been happening for years. Nicholas Kendall, we covered him, Matthew Lowry, you know what I'm saying? It's just so many people. Federal employee Daniel Halaco, former FBI special agents. I mean, correction officers, Pittsburgh.
On for tonight, a former correctional officer at Allegheny County Jail is accused of bringing drugs into the jail.
Raymond Toomey spent part of tonight behind bars at the jail, facing a number of charges, including contraband, criminal conspiracy, and possession with intent to deliver. He was later released on his own recognizance. Toomey was hired as a corrections officer in December of 2019. Jail officials first suspected he was bringing synthetic marijuana products into the jail earlier this month. He resigned from his position last Monday. Police say he turned himself in today. Pittsburgh's Action News 4 is being told this is the same Raymond Toomey who previously worked as a Pittsburgh police officer. He resigned from that position in 2018 after video showed him kicking a man during an arrest on the South Side in 2017. The department placed Toomey on desk duty before his official resignation. He was never criminally charged in that case.
Developing story: an Anderson police
Indiana.
officer is in custody accused of dealing drugs and doing it while on duty and in full uniform. RTV6's Jack Reinhardt joins us live from outside the federal courthouse with the details now. Jack?
Well, Anderson police officer Donald Jordan appeared in federal district court just a short time ago, charged with 2 counts of trafficking in prescription drugs, including Xanax and hydrocodone. Now, the investigation into Jordan began in July of last year with a complaint filed by a citizen with the Anderson Police Department about unethical conduct. That complaint was forwarded by Anderson Police to the FBI, who arrested Jordan yesterday afternoon at police headquarters.
From Madison County in Montana, now facing multiple charges, including 2 felonies that stem from a drug case this past summer.
A now former Providence police officer appears in court on several drug charges.
Yeah, she didn't have to go very far when she was taken into custody because she was at work.
Sentencing day for a former Polson police officer.
Polson police officer Matthew Tim received his sentence Thursday after being arrested in 2023 on charges that include sexual abuse against children. Tim accepted a plea agreement in April, carrying a sentence of 40 years in the Montana State Prison with 30 years suspended.
This is the sergeant's charge. At least 5 others in distributing marijuana, psychedelics, mushrooms, and at least 4 other prison workers, and for money laundering. Former Hampton officer arrested in Idaho on drug tampering. Utah.
Former Central Utah Police Chief is charged with drug crimes and official misconduct. I'm Fox 13 investigative reporter Nate Carlisle. We've been tracking problems at the Gunnison Valley Police Department. It protects the towns of Gunnison and Centerfield. Seth Hendrickson, who until recently was the chief at Gunnison Valley, has been charged with 5 counts of drug possession, a count of possessing drug paraphernalia, and a count of official misconduct. Court documents say the investigation began after drugs went missing from the department. The Utah County Sheriff's Office was called in to investigate, searched Hendrickson's vehicle, and records say found syringes that tested positive for heroin. Detectives used a search warrant to obtain hair and fingernail samples from Hendrickson, and they tested positive for heroin. Hendrickson resigned from Gunnison Valley in July.
Tonight, a second Utah-based Homeland Security agent is now charged with conspiracy to distribute drugs. The FBI accusing Special Agent Nicholas Kindle of using his position with DHS to get access to drugs and then arrange to sell them out there in the street. His alleged associate was charged last month for similar drug crimes. Investigators believe the two agents made $195,000 from illegal drug sales to an informant.
Based on recent news reports, it appears that several current and former Alabama police officers, as well as correctional officers, have been charged, convicted in crimes. The entire Alabama Police Department put on leave. They operated as a criminal enterprise. They fired the entire police department, Hansfield, distribution, state troopers, trafficking cocaine from Mexico to Alabama. Man, it's crazy. North Carolina, officers, correction officers, both. Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputy arrested on drug trafficking. Down in Miami, they will hire criminals. They just busted one last week that was busted for telling on Pablo Escobar. Then he went to prison. Then he got out and became an informant. Then he became the top sheriff. Then they busted him again as the top sheriff. Texas police chief gets 15 years in prison for selling seized drugs. 7 Texas correctional officers plead guilty to racketeering. Former East Texas police officer gets 20 years in prison for buying. TDCJ officers accused of attempting to traffic meth into the prison system.
Tom Coleman, an undercover narcotics officer who arrested 46 people, nearly all of them black, on charges of being cocaine dealers and sent many of them to prison for a total of 750 years. That was until the governor of Texas stepped in and pardoned them after a judge accused Tom Coleman of being a liar who falsified evidence, a thief, and a racist.
Man. South Dakota. Police officers arrested. Pornography charges. Ex-North Dakota sheriff charged with dealing drugs and bribery. That's North Dakota. South Dakota and North Dakota.
Drug bust in Iowa that has ties to our area.
Yes,
now
Iowa.
we've learned one of the suspects even served as a police officer. 44-year-old Elwood Perry Jr. worked for the Chesapeake Department for 11 years.
10 on your side's Gina Arevalo looked into his past and filed this report before heading out to breaking news.
The Fremont County Sheriff's Office arrested Perry, 65-year-old Richard Jordan of Elizabeth City, and 45-year-old Patrick Hawes of Norfolk on Friday. Deputies initially stopped the men's RV for several moving violations. This is the stash of marijuana that deputies confiscated. The canine posing in the middle alerted deputies of the drugs, which weighed in at 300 pounds and had an estimated street value of $2.8 million. A City of Chesapeake spokesman confirmed Perry worked for the police department.
And even Alaska. Former APD officer Scott Bonita arrested on multiple felony charges. It is just out of control.